Hey guys, it's CrystalRenèe here. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, thanks for joining. Hey my planty friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what I have been growing in my propagation box for some time now. So if you're interested in what I have to show you, then stay. Before we get started with this video, I first like to thank everyone for being here. And if you can, give this video a like. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. Let's get into the plants. So here is a clear propagation box. And I threw a mixture of different cuttings in here just to see what they will do. I have them in some perlite, a little bit of water mixed with a little bit of super thrive, and that is it. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And as you can see, it's kind of full. I'm not sure if you can tell what's in there. We have a few fun things that are inside of here. With some of these cuttings, there's a little backstory to them, and I'll just be telling you those as I pull them out. So this first cutting is of an Australia Lisa. As you can see, the perlite did wonders. Let me just bounce some of that off so that it doesn't waste onto the floor. But as you can see, it rooted very well. This cutting I just recently got in a trade. I traded for 2 Hoya cuttings for 2 Hoya cuttings as well, and this is one of the Hoya cuttings that I received. It was a local trade from one of my planty friends that live locally. So as you all know, I had an Australia's Lisa. I had a very huge one. I propagated it and I sold most of my cuttings, and the rest of it died off along with some of my other plants. You all know the story. If you don't, you would have to go watch some of my past videos to find out what was going on. I think I'm going to put it into a pond to see how it does there. The second cutting that I received in this trade, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but a Coraniana, I'm not sure. I'll put the name of it on the screen. Silver Splash is what this is, and it too has rooted quite well. It has a few little roots on the back of that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pot that up just yet, or if I just should leave it in perlite a little bit longer, which I might probably do. Now these cuttings that are in here have been in here for a little bit longer than these 2 cuttings, so they should have rooted quite well. So this is a Silver Splash cutting. It has a little root on it, looking good. This one's a little tough to come out, so I know that it should have some pretty good roots on it. Ooh. This is another Splash, and it has some juicy roots on it. That looks pretty good. I'm liking that. This is a Royal Hawaiian Purple. It's starting to get a few little roots on it, but not much. That one could probably go back into the box. This is another Royal Hawaiian cutting, and that has a little bit more root than the other. So it looks like the Royal Hawaiian purple cuttings, they are rooting, but they're taking a lot more time to root than other Hoyas, as I noticed, but they do have some roots. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there are some roots there. Same plant, same situation, has some tiny roots. Looks like I have a lot of Royal Hawaiian purple cuttings in here. Okay. So this is the same plant, but it looks like it rooted much more than the rest. All right, I see you. And this is the last cutting of the Royal Hawaiian Purple. Yeah, that one definitely needs to go back into the box. Not much roots there. It has a tiny root poking out, but that is all I see. So next we have some silver stripe philodendron. So this cutting has one tiny root shooting out. I think I may, if the roots on these don't look too good, I might just stick them in water because I don't think the perlite is doing justice for these cuttings. So let me check the other silver stripe and see what we have. Yeah, I don't see much of any new roots growing on the silver stripe. They're alive, but no rooting going on. Nope, no roots. So yeah, I think the silver stripe would definitely need to be propagated in water because I'm not seeing any growth. Again, no roots. Again, a tiny root is trying to push out, but no. Wow, that is interesting. So if you're trying to propagate your silver stripe philodendron, I do not recommend doing it in perlite because these results I'm not happy with. So I'm definitely going to place these in some water with a little bit of Super Thrive to see if I see some action in those roots, because right now I see nothing. Yeah, see, it's pushing out a tiny root, but not anything significant. Yeah, no. Oh, that's a bummer. Okay, so here's one, a larger cutting, and it did root a bit. I don't know if you see that. It's starting to do something, but I still suggest water propagation for these cuttings. Same with this one. A tiny little root, not much. And that is it for the silver sword. So, as I mentioned, if you're gonna go with propagating your silver sword philodendron, or silver stripe, I'm sorry, I would suggest water propagation. So here we have is a Scindapsus silver lady cutting, and something has, oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this silver lady has rooted so much that its roots are stuck onto another cutting that's in the box. So I'm going to slowly lift that up. Wow. So this is strange. So as you can see, the bottom portion has no roots. And that was what was submerged in the perlite. But this top piece here has plenty of roots, and that was not even in the perlite. That was sticking out of the perlite and growing up against another leaf cutting that was in the box. Isn't that weird? Oh, wow. So this bottom portion I probably would just cut, and it looked like it was trying to push out a new leaf, but the leaf was starting to die off, it looks like. So I don't know what's going on there, but that's odd. Same here, nothing. And normally I would put these also in water propagation, but I wanted to see what it would do in perlite. And yeah, so it's odd that the top piece did root like that, and these bottom portions aren't really pushing off anything in this perlite. Same with this piece, no roots, no roots, and no roots. Guys, this propagation box has failed me. Let's keep our fingers crossed for these last few cuttings that are in this box. So I have some Monstera Peru that's in here. So let's hope that that rooted. Okay. So I see that it has a little root there at the bottom. Just a tiny root. So progress, progress. Now this cutting looks like it barely was starting to push out a root. Barely. Wow. I wonder if my box was getting enough sunlight. Okay, now this larger one has a pretty juicy root on it. And that is it for my propagation box. Wow, a lot of my cuttings failed me, which is sad to say. The Hoya did much better than any other thing that was in the box. And normally things take off in my propagation box, but this time, not so much. So much for my prop box. As I mentioned, there's been other times where I had great success with propagation boxes, and this particular time it just didn't work out too well for me. We got a little success, but not much, but it happens. But I do have some other propagations that I'd like to share with you since we're talking about propagation. Now I have some Hoya obovata cuttings here, and instead of perlite, I decided to do the water method, but I did put them in leca as well. I placed them and positioned them in the glass jar you see here in leca, and I just added water. I don't even think I added Super Thrive to the water because I hadn't had any Super Thrive in my possession at that moment. And let me show you. It's empty now. There's no water in here, but if you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it has some crazy roots going on in there. Some crazy roots. I think I'm going to take them out of the planter. As you can see, these Hoya rooted like crazy. Look at that. It's attached. See, that is rooted up like crazy. That obovata cutting, looking good. And as you can see, this cutting is rooted very nicely. Such a pretty cutting. It's beautiful. This is another 2-leaf cutting. It is rooted up well, rooted up very nicely. Probably should have put all of my Hoya in the leca. So we have some Hoya carrii, and we also have some silver splash here in this leca. Everything's low on water. It is my watering day, so everything's pretty dried out. So I guess that's good for the video so I don't have water everywhere. So this first cutting is this Hoya carrii. Look at it. It got some nice roots going on. Yeah, I definitely like that process. And as I look up the stem, it looked like it wants to shoot out different growth points, if I'm not mistaken. Or you can kind of cut it along there and propagate each section if you like. And it has a peduncle that once bloomed for me. That is nice. So now I have a whole new Hoya carrii plant cutting. Here's another rooted Hoya carrii. Very nice. Nicely rooted. Yes, I am loving the progress on this. This is another carrii. It is rooted as well. So as you can see, the leca and water work wonders on your Hoya. This cutting as well has rooted up very nicely. Very nicely. That is a beautiful cutting. And it will grow beautiful into a nice plant. So now for the Hoya splash, guys. As you can see, it did root, but very tiny roots as well. Not much growth. So right now I'm kind of thinking that either the splash takes a little bit longer to root, because this looks about, let's see, let's compare. So this was a splash cutting in Perlite, and this is the splash cutting in water in leca. So I'm thinking the Perlite did a little better. Yeah, so as you can see, that's another splash, and it didn't root too well in the water, but it did give us some little fuzzy roots down there. So far Perlite did a little better with the Hoya splash. You don't have to use the leca growing solution when propagating, because I didn't. I just used water and it grew well. So here in this glass vase, this has a little water. It has a little algae in there, which is okay, but it means that the water needs to be changed. I have some Scindapsus Silver Splash and some Begonia maculata. But as you can see, we have roots here from the Scindapsus Splash. Let's see. So this rooted up like crazy. Some crazy roots. And it is now putting out a new leaf, which is beautiful. Here's another well-rooted cutting. It has put out some new leaves as well. Looking good. Yes. Water propagation works, guys. Another rooted piece that is now pushing out a new leaf here. Yes, looking good. So this begonia I just placed in water doesn't look like it's doing much. It looks like it's trying to push out new leaves, but no root growth. So, and mind you, this is just plain water. So I might just stick it in water with Super Thrive in it and see what happens there. Again, another cutting with major roots and pushing out a new leaf. So my Silver Splash was loving it. Another rooted cutting and also pushing out a new growth point. Another jar, I have nothing but Silver Splash, and as you can see, they all rooted up as well. A little algae on there, but algae does not hurt the plants, but it is best to change your water once you start seeing algae. this one I wanted to talk about. As you know, pothos should be the easiest plant to root, especially in water. So I know that you guys saw me chop up my Snow Queen, and I placed her in water, and she's barely giving me any roots. A lot of my cuttings died off and yellowed, like this one you see here. I just left this one so that you guys could see. Like, it wanted to push out a new leaf, but it's yellowing and dying. So that one I may toss. But as you can see, these cuttings are barely beginning to root, and I mean, they were pushing out new leaves, new growth points before they started rooting. They're just now beginning to root. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'm just not pleased with the outcome of what's happening here. I'm not sure. So I'm going to rinse these off, give it some fresh water, and add some Super Thrive this time to the water and see if that promotes more root growth, because as you know, that was the last of my Snow Queen and I don't want to lose it. Now I do have this jar here that was already rooted. If you don't remember in the last video, it already had some roots on it that I just placed in water, and they're doing good and they're pushing out new leaves. As you can see, there's new leaf growth there. So I do have that just in case those do completely die off. But I'm hoping I'm able to save that and go ahead and pop these all up together and make a nice bushy plant once again, like I had originally. So keep your fingers crossed for that. And I have these neon pothos cuttings. As you can see, there is plenty of root down in there. I don't really want to pull all these out because it might be hard getting them back in there, but they are rooted up, all ready to go and pot up. I think I'm going to either do leca on these. I'm not sure if I want to do soil or not. I'm still debating. But yeah, that is pretty much it for what I have propagating right now at the moment, guys. And just keep your fingers crossed that everything goes well. Oh, I do have some variegated heartleaf philodendron that's rooting in water. It's not doing anything as well, but I did propagate them in the past in Perlite, and they did amazing. So I might just add them to my propagation box so that they could get their grow on. But I feel like this video is a little bit lengthy, so I do want to end it here. And if you watch this video to the end, you're greatly appreciated. And as I always say, enjoy peace, spread love, and be blessed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you never miss a post. Share with all your planty friends. And follow me on my Instagram so that we can interact.